Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero TV, our website, or our podcast, you can send us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. TSA has announced plans to fire 7 employees involved in a bribery scandal in Philadelphia, leading TSA officials to admit that reforms signed into law in February can't come soon enough. USA Today reports that court records indicate former training supervisor Shannon Gilliam was sentenced June 7th after pleading guilty to demanding $1,000 from coworkers to take certification tests. 10 workers were removed from their duties when the scandal was first uncovered in November of last year, and 3 have since resigned. TSA has notified the other 7 that they will be terminated. TSA trotted out their well-worn statement about holding, quote, all of its employees to the highest standards of conduct and accountability. But that company line is beginning to ring pretty hollow following one after another criminal or civil episodes of misconduct by TSA employees. Part of the FAA reauthorization bill passed into law in February gives airports the right to transition to private security operations under federal standards and supervision, in effect removing TSA from the human resources business, allowing TSA to refocus its attention on security where it should be. The NTSB has criticized Gulfstream for its role in the probable cause investigation of the April 2, 2011 accident involving a flight test version of the G650. The airplane went down during a flight test in Roswell, New Mexico, after the test pilots simulated an engine-out scenario on takeoff. 4 Gulfstream employees were fatally injured in the accident. In a letter to Gulfstream President Larry Flynn, NTSB Chair Deborah A.P. Hersman expressed concern about Gulfstream's non-compliance with instructions from the NTSB investigator in charge relating to quarantine of accident-related telemetry data. Unexplained missing evidence, including a computer hard drive containing accident-related telemetry data and flight test notebooks. Gulfstream's withholding of relevant information relating to the existence and results of its internal safety audit, Gulfstream's delay in providing requested factual information relating to the accident, and in making staff available for participation in group activities such as interviews and record review, and more. While unable to comment specifically on the investigation, Flynn replied in defense of his company in his own letter to Hersman, saying in part, Gulfstream has responded to each and every request for information from the NTSB as promptly as possible. Gulfstream has proactively provided to the NTSB a substantial amount of additional information that might assist the NTSB, and indeed, NTSB staff has previously called our level of technical cooperation unprecedented. Flynn stated that the company has requested that some information be redacted from the report to protect trade secrets. A probable cause report is not expected until later this year. NASA Administrator Charles Bolden joined SpaceX CEO and Chief Designer Elon Musk at the SpaceX Rocket Development Facility in McGregor, Texas on Wednesday to see the first commercial space capsule to complete a mission to the International Space Station. Bolden and Musk also thanked the more than 150 SpaceX employees working at the McGregor facility for their role in this historic mission. SpaceX's Dragon capsule made history May 31st when it returned to Earth after delivering supplies to the space station. Bolden told the assembled audience, quote, "The Dragon capsule is a tangible example of the new era of exploration unfolding right now." While on site, Bolden had the opportunity to view some of the 1,367 pounds of cargo the spacecraft returned to Earth from the space station. Dragon is the only spacecraft capable of returning a significant quantity of science experiments and cargo from the station. I'm Ashley Hale, and you're Airborne on Aero TV.
The DFC-90 all-digital attitude-based autopilot delivers significant performance and safety improvements over previous generation systems. Its innovative flight envelope protection guards against autopilot-induced stalls, and the straight and level mode provides one-button recovery from unusual attitudes for an added measure of safety. Immensely popular within the service community, the DFC-90 is now being made available for a growing list of aircraft including Piper Matrix and Mirage, Cessna 182s, and Beech Bonanzas and Barons. Fly with confidence. Fly with DFC-90.
Thanks for joining us. It's time for this week's Barnstorming Commentary. Jim Campbell is monitoring reports about changes being made at the EAA, as Rod Hightower recrafts the organization to his liking. And while change is often a good and necessary thing, there are some that don't seem so enamored of the new EAA.
Hi Ashley, hi folks. Well, we're less than a month from when I actually have to pack up everything and start heading for Oshkosh. But as our thoughts turn to Oshkosh, our thoughts also turn to EAA and what has been a year of momentous change. We've been covering a number of things, some of them a little disturbing and some of them who knows yet. There was a big exodus, if you will, in late January when a number of people were let go from the organization, including some folks who had piled up phenomenal reputations at EAA over the years. Rod Hightower is obviously crafting the organization to his liking and to his direction. But in the meantime, a number of other things have happened. Longtime partners, Canon, have basically come to the conclusion that it's too expensive for them to be there anymore and pulled out, while all of a sudden Nikon is in and in very quickly. Flying Magazine's Chalet and Hospitality Center is no more. It's been taken away by EAA, and it's now the EAA Hospitality Center. We've seen some heartburn over the AirVenture Cup getting a bit of a boot and a loss of support from what they've known in the past, and what appeared to be a strange statement where EAA tried to distance itself from air racing. At the same time, Rod Hightower is at Reno this week at rookie school, qualifying in T6 class, and frankly, that's something I do approve of and do like, because I think there's something about a guy who's willing to walk a mile in somebody else's moccasins, and that's a pretty good thing. Same time, there's some other things that are going on. There's this massive chalet project that puts 5 $40,000 a week chalets on the front flight line where a lot of the airplanes used to be. Big ticket items. I guess EAA needs the money, but my question is, do they need that? And do they need to take a whole lot of the flight line? These are the things that are disturbing a lot of folks. They're not quite sure about the direction. They're not quite sure about whether or not they really have a voice in it. And I think this year, more than anything else, is a time to question EAA, ask them where they want to go, but more important, are they still the association that Paul started decades ago, or are they becoming something new? And if so, what? I'd like to hear about it. Well, we'll be talking to Rod and a number of people at EAA. It'll be a major theme this year at Oshkosh. But we'd like to hear what you think, and more important, your observations as you get to Oshkosh. So be sure to look us up in the big building on the west side of the media center. Have our banners on it. Stop in, say hi. And in the meantime, tell us what you think. For the Aero-News Network, Aero TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell. Now, go fly something.
A team of students from the A. James Clark School of Engineering are preparing to fly their newest human-powered helicopter, Gamera 2. The vehicle is an improved version of the Gamera 1, which last year set world records for flight duration. Like Gamera 1, Gamera 2 is an enormous hand and pedal-powered X-shaped vehicle that has 4 rotors and is 103 feet across diagonally. But Gamera 2 weighs only 71 pounds, an amazing 35 pounds lighter than the previous vehicle. It also features enhanced rotor design, an improved transmission, and a redesigned cockpit. The team expects the Gamera 2 is capable of flights lasting longer than 60 seconds, a major step towards competing for the Sikorsky Prize and remaining ahead of their competitors. The Solar Impulse aircraft was thwarted in its attempt to fly from Rabat, Morocco to Ouarzazate on Wednesday. After leaving Rabat Airport just after 8 a.m. local time Wednesday morning, the airplane made it about halfway to Casablanca before the decision was made to turn back due to degrading weather conditions. The aircraft encountered unexpected headwinds and turbulence, and it was determined that the best course of action was to return to its point of departure. Andre Borschberg landed safely at the Rabat International Airport at just after midnight local time. In a news release, the Solar Impulse team said this situation is a perfect reminder of how challenging and difficult the Solar Impulse missions really are as the team continues to prepare for an around-the-world attempt in 2012. And now it's time for the Aero video of the week. Each week, we share with you a sample of an online video one of our viewers thought was especially entertaining. This week's submission comes from Airborne viewer Andrew Gilbert. This week, a video of RAF Hawks practicing a taxiing formation design to be flown as part of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee military muster over Windsor Castle on May 19, 2012. This video was filmed from Ruby 4, the lower part of the loop of the R. To find this video, go to YouTube and search for Queen's Diamond Jubilee E2R flypast. The full video runs just over 4 minutes in length. If you have a suggestion for a future Aero video of the week, you can send us a link to news-spy@aero-news.net. Finally this week, there's been a lot of attention paid recently to the dispersal of the now retired fleet of space shuttle orbiters. Various museums from the Smithsonian on down bid for the chance to add one of the spacecraft to their collections. And of course, there were winners and losers. But the biggest winner of all may be the small town of Downey, California. Back in 1972, when the shuttle program was first getting up ahead of steam, Rockwell built a nearly full-scale mock-up of the orbiter, largely out of wood and plastic. As the program gathered momentum and spacecraft began to regularly fly to low Earth orbit, the mock-up was largely forgotten, left gathering dust in a warehouse in Downey, California under large sheets of plastic. Recently rediscovered, the model is about to have a new life. The Downey City Council recently approved a resolution that will allow the mock-up to be temporarily moved to a movie studio parking lot under a large tent and placed on public display. The exhibit is expected to be open late this summer, according to a report in the Los Angeles Times. Long-range plans are for the model to be placed on permanent display at the nearby Columbia Memorial Space Center, which was opened in 2009 to honor the crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia, which broke apart during re-entry in 2003. That is, if the $2 million needed to bring the exhibit to reality can be found. Scott Pomren, the executive director of the Columbia Memorial Space Center, certainly hopes that the money can be found. As he says, quote, "The bottom line is, this is the original shuttle, the one Rockwell sold NASA on," end quote. And it's been sitting in the dark, lost to time for all these years. Well, we certainly don't want you viewers sitting in the dark and feeling lost. So remember, you can get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching. Now go out there and get airborne.